I don't know if some people joined us last time we had our webinar, but we've always had this kind of session every month. And, sometimes I get busy because of my job, but I try as much as possible to connect at least once in 2 months so that I can also do my own part of the community service. So hopefully we can get something out today. The first question I wanted to ask is there anybody on this call that does not have a job or that doesn't have an income or that doesn't have what they are doing to make money at all? That's the very big question I wanted to ask. And I mean, and the reason why I asked it may be a rhetorical question, but the reason why I asked that question is because the foundation of what we're trying to talk about here today is largely based on income or profits. Because if you would say that you want to gain wealth, the foundation of wealth building is savings. And there's nobody that saves without having income or profits. So when you hear about retained earnings of companies, if you know how to read financials, or you hear net profit, it is that net profit that companies use to invest in capital expenditure. It's the same money that the company used to pay dividend to shareholders. It's the same money companies use to repurchase shares. It's the same money company used to invest in growth. So I'm building this foundation because if that's a company, but as an individual as well, if you want to build wealth, the foundation of wealth building has to start from income. And when I say income, I don't mean $1 million. I don't mean a millionaire. I don't say you have to earn 500K. But the consistency of the income you make is the foundation of wealth building, the foundation of what we're trying to talk about here. It may be good in theory that you listen to all this nice stuff, but if there is no foundation of how am I making money every month or every day, every year, or it's just my father give me a very inheritance that I'm using to make money, like house, family house, or somebody will something to this conversation that we're having will not make sense. That was why I asked that rhetorical question first. But I don't know nobody needs to answer that. Okay, let's start from this. And thank you, Zeno, for the background. I have worked about 10 years in Nigeria. So if you are actually having doubts, maybe I have the reality of what is going on in Nigeria. I absolutely know. I worked in Nigeria for like 10 years, about 4 companies, 5 kind of. And I still have investments in Nigeria. I still have buildings that are building in Nigeria. I have people that I send money to in Nigeria. So if you want to be comfortable, I know exactly what is going on in Nigeria. Combined with that, I am also here in the US as an investment banker. So I advise women here, also there's Europe, Asia. So it's a global bank. So I'm just trying to give you a perspective to say that the guide, which is very simple, that I'm going to be talking about here, it's a workable model. It is something that works. And it doesn't matter your level of income, and that's why we are trying to understand. It's basic. I'm not talking to people. There are people that have earned million naira every month for the last 10 years. And if you look at their life is nowhere to near comfortable. They don't have a secure life. So again, it's just to establish the fact that the foundation of wealth building, it's not about the amount of income they're making, it's about the consistency of the income. So that is the first thing I wanted to establish. Okay, this is the background of why we need to talk about this particular, this is why this webinar is very important. The inflation level in Nigeria is extremely high. It is not a very comfortable level of inflation. In fact, it is very few countries of the world that have the level of inflation. And maybe we're doing ourselves some injustice because we don't know how to measure our inflation very well. But the truth is, the inflation in Nigeria is very important to your personal life, because every time there is money in your bank account and you do not spend it on something, by the time you wake up in the next 6 months or 1 year, you will realize that you have not been able to make ends meet with that income. And the problem is that there is a purchasing power problem. So your purchasing power continues to reduce because the value of the money you keep in the bank or the value of earnings you are having continue to depreciate. So that is a very important point that I wanted to first highlight. So that is inflation problem. That's the first thing. And another thing that needs to establish is that it has become necessary that you cannot rely on your salary to give wealth, because salary is just what is income. There are levels how to go from income to wealth. Okay, know this. There are these 4 stages I wanted to mention, which is the first stage on this webinar, the big answer that I want to provide. We call it the wealth formula. It works anyhow. The wealth formula has 4 levels. It moves from income to savings, and from savings to investment, and from investment to growth. It's a simple model, but it has worked all the time. And let us break it down. What does income do? Your income, it is what funds everything in your life. And that was why I asked that first question, that is there anybody that is not getting it? And it doesn't have to be very rich income. If you do not have income yet, the first solution to your problem is try to find income. But if you have income, then we can now start talking about the wealth building process, which starts from income. The second level is savings. And everybody is a buzzword, but I need to understand that people that talk about savings, sometimes they don't apply what they talk about in savings. And I have some very practical examples of people that I think you should have savings. And I'm asking now, okay, how much do you have in savings? And they're like, my income is not enough. I'm like, okay, your income is not enough, but I could calculate how much you're making. And I'm like, okay, if your income is not enough, then there is a problem. And the reason why I get annoyed sometimes when people say their income is not enough is that sometimes, based on religion, and shout out to Christians, is that you find out that some people are consistent, and they'll be consistent for the last 10 years of their life, paying 10% of their income to church. I am not saying that is not bad, but I'm saying that if you apply the same consistency that you have used to keep 10% of your income to an institution, you need to, at least for your own self-interest, keep 10% of your income again to your own life, to building wealth for yourself. And that's when the consistency that we're talking about here comes in. So I am moving to saving, because if we have agreed that you make income, then there must be something around savings. And that is the next stage in the building, the work building formula. The third one is investment. And maybe that's why we are here, but we'll get there. If you are saving in the bank, and I've already said that because of inflation, your savings that you save there today is worthless in the next 6 months. Then that's when investment comes into the picture. Investment, and there are different types of it. You can go through them, by the time we get there. And the next level of investment is wealth. So they said time compounds everything. And if you have not read it, I can just advise. It's a very interesting, but there's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon, what's that book is just teaching it about compound interest. If they say time solves all problems, the same thing with time, the same thing with wealth. Time compounds everything, including your savings, including your investment. So you need to understand the concept of compound interest. And that is how wealth is built. So remember, the big thing that we're trying to say here is that you need to know what's the wealth formula. And we can repeat that. It moves from income. It moves to savings. It moves to savings to investment. And from investment to wealth. And that is where the compound interest formula comes in. So now let's talk about your income itself. And I've made a video about this before. I can't even remember the title before that. Around how do you break down your income? And the reason why I think I call it your rent is not an emergency. And in that video on YouTube, or I don't know where it was today for experiment, I tried to break down the concept of people trying to create emergency around their rent. Because every time when people ask me about to help them with rent, I'm always like very shocked. Because where I live here, I pay rent every month. So if you cannot pay rent in the US, you are wretched. Like you are already homeless. And if you are homeless, it means that you are at the lowest level of life here. So when you say, "Oh, you're homeless," that means abroad, like your life is gone. So when people ask me about supporting with rent, what always goes in my mind is this person is wretched. This person is homeless. And it's valid because the reason people tend to ask you for rent is because they pay rent 1 year in advance and they go to sleep. They assume that 1 year will not come again. So we're trying to bring down your income now. And this is what you should do. Even if you are paying your rent annually, if you pay 1.2 million naira for any rent in Lagos, wherever you stay in Nigeria, you need to know that every month you ask yourself, can I take away 100,000 from the monthly income I'm earning and still be fine? If you're not fine, then that means the rent you're paying is too much for you. Or maybe your income is just terrible and you need to find another job. So that is just around the understanding what is my income is. So again, there is a part which is called the emergency fund. Your income that comes to you every month, you should be able to build emergency fund. And people have formula for that, meaning that if you are fired today, you should be able to survive for 6 months before you raise an alarm. So that is the concept of emergency fund. You need to be building that out of your income. And you need to have like at least 3 months of survival. You cannot go hungry because you lost job last month. And that's the problem for you. Again, we're talking about before you even start talking about investment. Is your income enough to keep some money down for emergency fund? That's the first question. The next question, is your income enough to pay your rent? I know we are not paying rent every month in Nigeria, but the question again is still coming here. If your rent is 1.2 million, ask yourself, if I'm earning 500K every month, can I keep 100K out of that 500K somewhere for my rent without me going broke? If the answer is no, there is a problem. How much do I use to buy fuel? How much do I use to eat? How much do I spend to my parents? How much do I spend on luxury? How much do I use to flex? At the end of the day, you need to be able to break down your income into simple rule. There must be 50% of your income that goes into your needs. And it applies everywhere. If it doesn't apply to you, you need to again increase your income or maybe cut that down on some expenses that are too extravagant. Even in US, 50% of people's income goes into rents and bills. And they can now plan or whatever they like with 50%. So there's a simple rule around you use 50% of your income for needs. Things are like very basic. You have to be able to transport yourself to the office of that. You need to be able to eat. You need to be able to pay your bills. You need to be able to pay your rent. All of these, they become needs. What about wants? About 30% of your income also goes to wants. You want to buy clothes. I mean, and it's valid. You want to enjoy. You want to go on vacation. You want to take out people. You want to take your friends out. So the question is coming around, your income should be broken down into that. And the 20% of it, that's when the investment coming. Let's be real. If you cannot save 20% of your income at all, You cannot steal 20% of your income. There is a problem. And the reason why I mentioned tithes again is to emphasize the fact that if you can take away 10% consistently away from your income every month for the last 5 years of your life, it means that you should be selfish enough to be able to create 20% of your income consistently. Again, we are talking about consistency here. Is the game of consistency, is a game of time. So you need to be able to say 20% of my income is going to be going to savings. And if that doesn't happen, to adjust. So we are talking about the income and how that moves to savings. And the next one that we want to talk about now is the third formula, wealth formula, which is now the investment. So if we think about what is really investment, and let me be clear. If you are saving and you are not investing, that is the problem. In fact, it's going to be very abusive if I know that you're saving the money and you are not investing. And there are problems that you create for yourself when that is happening to you. And I know many of us have this experience. Have you ever thought about it when you have money saved somewhere in the bank and suddenly one of your cousins or your siblings or your parents become sick and they ask you to bring money out? It's easy because the money is there. All you need to do is to wire the money out. So again, there is a psychological problem of saving without investing. It means that there can be emergencies of other people that take your savings. And I've had an issue where I need money urgently, and I have some of my friends like, oh, if can give me like $5,000 and they're like, everything is locked. I mean, it's not like it's hard to remove money that's locked, but it's a very convenient way to say, you know what, go and deal with your problem, by any other means. I am not part of the solution. So that's one of the psychological, advantage of investment. Even if you just put your money in OPay lock, or you put it in PiggyVest lock, it's easy for you to say, you know what, if you have problems, I want to help you, but my money is locked. There's nothing you can do about it. It's a very convenient way to say, I can't help. So that is just one of the things I wanted to chip in that. In terms of the psychology around it, there is no money in my account that's available for any frivolous thing. It means that people cannot come to you in their emergency. So that is how to think about investment. Okay, what about the structure of investment in Nigeria? Now let's come back to why we are here. If you want to start investing, you need to know what is my risk appetite. And sometimes when I see people, on social media or anywhere, talking about forex investment, or talking about crypto, or talking about, very sophisticated investment, talking about options, like, hey, I'm struggling here and I'm not like the dumbest person in New York. People are committing a lot of their time to understand some of these complex investment tools. If you don't know what you're doing, you can't be talking. Nobody should be talking about forex to you when you are not even getting by. Nobody should be talking about crypto to you. So I'm just trying to tell you that even as you try to think about investment, you need to be thinking about investment that do you understand what's going on? Do you have the risk appetite? And sometimes risk appetite comes with money. It's savings you have. How much are you willing to gamble? Do you have the risk appetite to do some very crazy investment? Do you even understand what is going on? If you don't understand what is going on, then you start thinking about it in terms of, I cannot do this investment. Even if everybody is making 100% gain, I cannot do it. And it is acceptable. So again, I'm trying to say, in terms of investment, think about it first. You need to start from the low risk investment. I think you know that about risk capital. Yes, risk capital is around how much are you willing to do. I remember when I first lost my first 500,000 to forex, I wanted to die. And that was about 7 years ago. I lost 500K. I mean, I put my money in one stupid forex that one of my bosses recommended. See Apari, yes, Apari. And I put my money there, and I think I set my stop loss and all of that. And I think I forgot to do something, and the money within like a night, all my money disappeared. Again, I'm just trying to emphasize the fact that, and that was not 500K that was cheap to get for me. So I'm just trying to say again that, we have all learned in our streets. So you need to start from below, which the treasury bill. That is the basic thing you should be thinking about before you graduate to something corporate. Put your money in treasury bill. At least, even if you don't understand what's going on with treasury bills, you know that it is edging against inflation in Nigeria. Bonds, if you understand how bonds work, and it's simple to understand, just say you're lending company money. Put your money in bonds. What bonds do for you is that it protects you against inflation. It also gives you small return above inflation. Fair enough. You're not doing anything and you are not having hypertension. Money market, there is all the buzz around that. And you also don't need to understand the money market really. You hear about the index fund. Sure, you probably would have heard about the index fund, mutual fund. So all of these are very low risk investment. They give you time to think about what needs to do with your money. So think about it from that level. Low risk. Start from low risk. You put your money in bonds, in money market funds, in mutual fund, index fund. By the time you start that, then maybe you are now ready for the big boys investment like stock. It is not everybody that should invest in stock. Let's be real. It is not everybody that should invest their money in the Nigerian stock market. If people tell you the story they've had in their life, there was a time when Pastor Shimolo was out, destroying banks to say, what, this guy was scammers, I put my money there, I lost it all. People that are smart have lost money in the Nigerian stock exchange. It doesn't mean you are not investing there. You will invest, but I'm saying that your risk appetite has to be graduating. You can't just be pushing your life savings when you don't even earn into something you don't understand. And if you also want to start with the investment in Nigerian stock, I will think about it that the easiest one for me right now is telecoms, is bank. If you move away from telecoms bank and maybe Dangote, portfolio, every other stock or every other, stock on that exchange, they don't have a lot of visibility around what is the growth strategy, what is the CEO of the company doing. So if you don't know what the company is doing with your money, you do not need to buy their stock. But that is not what we're dealing with here. What we're dealing with here is that a medium risk investment that comes next after you have dealt with the low risk like treasury bill bonds and money market fund is Nigerian stock exchange. And I also see a lot of people promoting, foreign exchange stock market. If you have the appetite for that, you can put your money in, US stock exchange, right? You can put your money there. Fair enough. But again, when you're investing in stock, it means that you need to understand the economy of where you are investing. If you don't know how to understand the American economy system, and somebody is just using sweet words to tell you that invest in, Amazon, invest in, you don't even read the annual report of Amazon. You don't read the annual report of Tesla. You need to understand the economy of where your money is going before you can be saying you have the appetite for that investment. Again, it's on the table, but I'm just saying that before you put your money in all of this medium risk investment, you need to understand the risk and you need to be able to know how you hedge against that. If we move on to the high risk investment, which is why we're here, right? Then you can now talk about, again, foreign stock is one of the things I classify as high risk investment because you don't know the economy. Yes. I mean, if you lived or you have people living in UK, US, Germany, or China, or wherever you are investing in, fine and good. But if you do not understand the market, please, you have to be careful. But it's on the table. And if you have apps like Bamboo, say Rice Vest, you can use all of these apps to buy foreign stocks. I do, but I do it carefully. I buy in Nigeria, but I buy the the companies I know that I understand what they're doing. I know some of them don't know what they're doing because it's just about one mind business, really. But I still try. I understand the US economy because I've been here for a while. So that's how to measure how to invest your money, right? Crypto is on the list. Even some of the MDs of the banks I work here that are very sophisticated. Like, what are you guys doing? Why are you investing in crypto? This guy don't have fundamentals. So there are some people that have 30 years doing investment banking that's shit on crypto. So I'm just saying that if you really do not understand, don't let people, use the crowd mentality to bamboozle you. It's fine not to have crypto. Like, it's absolutely fine. You're fine without crypto. Don't let people pressure you on crypto because it's an high risk investment. That's what we're dealing with here. I'm not trying to explain crypto to you. I'm just trying to say this is the risk you are taking when you are investing in this level, in this kind of investment. Real assets, that's the next level of investment I want to talk about. Real estate, and I always argue with some of my friends around real estate. Unfortunately for me, I am now investing in real estate. But my argument for real estate before I started putting my money there is the fact that you can never make your money back by investing in a house or in a shopping complex or in an industrial. Look, you can't make your money back easily. And I'm sure that is the truth. Because I remember, when I first built my first house in Nigeria, I spent about 50 billion. Well, think about it. If I'm going to make rent from that house, I'm going to be like 20 years time, I'm not still going to make the money I used to make. So, but the comfort I'm having around real estate now, which I want to share with you guys, is the fact that real estate is a very good store of value. Because if you have a land, no matter how bad that the economy is, the land is still going to be hedging against inflation. Don't buy it in Huawei or some other foreign places. Anyway, that's true. But generally, if you buy land anywhere in Nigeria, really, you are still going to be hedged. Even if you're not making crazy return, at least you are hedging against inflation. And there's another thing I learned over time. And that's one of the things, I don't even know how I built these things together. But one of the things you can do is that if you have enough money to buy an apartment, what you can also do is that you can also use that apartment or building as a security for loan. So I see it as a lever. You can use, real estate to leverage, and people have done it successfully. So if somebody gives you 100 million, for instance, today, that you just use it to start a business, what will you do? Will you just take the 100 million and just start a business? I will not do that. If somebody gives me 100 million now to start a business, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use that 100 million to buy a property, and I'm going to use that property to get a loan from the bank. What I'm doing technically is that I have used that much. I have done what you said. If somebody really gives you 100 million to start a business, and you want to start a business, and you think that business makes sense, if that business really makes sense, you should be confident to go to the bank, to get a loan to start a business. And that is the concept of bankability. When they say a project is bankable, what they are saying is that that project should be able to survive if you go to the bank to get a loan to start a business. That's bankability. And that's what banks do when they are reviewing any business. They go, I want to do this business, like send me a financial model. Tell me how you're going to make revenue. What are you spending money on? At the end of the day, what bank is doing is this project bankable? So I'm saying that if somebody gives me money to start any business and I think about it, and I tell the person, I'm going to make profits, and it's true, then what I should be able to do is to use my money to buy a property and use the property as a security, get a loan from that and do that business. That way I have created two income. At least I have a house which I can be living, which I can be renting out, but I also have money that I've secured that property. Okay, somebody's asking a question. Okay, let me pause for a few minutes and allow people to ask questions. Someone is asking a question. What's the question? You can ask the question.
In the house, if your business happens to fail because there's no certainty, you're likely to go homeless. Then
It's true. But what if you don't have a house? What if there's no house? What if you didn't use the house as a security to get the loan? What if you just throw the money into the business? What happens?
yes, you become frustrated.
Yeah, so you could see there is risk there. But my argument is just that there is the upside is still high because if the business succeeds, which is my bet. And if people have a lot of sweet mouths, and I'm sure that was a friend of mine that was like, yeah, give me 7 million, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what do you make 7 million? So yeah, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to make this money. I'm like, oh, relax. When people want to do investment, they are, they have very nice way of presenting their proposal to make it look like it's going to be so profitable. And along the line, when you're like, okay, yes, where's the money I gave you? Instead, you're going to be paying about 500K every month. How far? Well, after all, they're like, oh, yeah, the business doesn't make sense. Blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying that if really people are confident about the business they want to do, you should go and get money from the bank to do it. You should not come and get money from me. Because what banks do is that they discipline you to make sure that you're making very smart decisions in the business you're doing. So I am still arguing, and I'm really confident about that. That if you have a 50 million naira to do an investment and you think it's going to be profitable, you can go to Bank of Industry or some other, startup funder that will give you cheap loan to do your business. But I'm saying that why can't you just use the money to buy a property and use the property as a collateral so that you can get money and do the business and make profit? So one way is that you solve your rental income problem, you solve your homelessness problem at the same time, you do your business. And people have done that before. I used to have a boss. I mean, most of the people I've worked with in the past, they use their houses or their parents' houses to get a lot of money from the bank, like as high as billion. So I'm not saying what is not really happening. People are doing it every day. And if we want to take it complex to people like Dangote and all of that, these guys get a lot of loan from the bank. And the reason they do that is because they are smart. You know, you also get loan from the bank, and before the bank drag you, they will give you time. So yeah, there's a lot of leeway you can get from that. Is there any other question that I can answer? I think that's like easier for me. Does somebody have a question?
No, 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 no. I'm not supposed to let this.
Okay. If there are no questions, let's talk about the action plan. And the action plan I want to give us here is do for for your own good, maybe an homework. Can you? It's tough, but I want you to try. It's the first step. Break down your income into all the expenses you are spending and all of the expenses you have committed. And I said that carefully. And the reason why I said that because the foundation of what we're trying to do here, which is trying to figure out. Number one is that, and I have a boss that used to do that. So he created multiple accounts. I think you can do that on Citibank. He created a multiple accounts so when his salary comes to his account, his main account in Citibank there. So he has created a multiple account. So if you want to buy fuel for his car, So there is an account that he has a card. So we call it like fuel account, fuel card or something. We call it something crazy. It's an account, so it's crazy with number. So he only buys fuel from that card. If he wants to buy groceries or the wife wants to buy groceries, they have an account as well that they use to buy groceries. For school fees that he pays for his children, he pays it from another account. If you want to go on vacation, you drop money every month to a vacation account. They can tell you like, oh, we are going to go to vacation by December. The money we have now is 3 million because the money is going to an account. That is a crazy way to do it because nobody has time for that shit. But I'm saying that even as an individual, you should be able to know how much comes to your account every month. And you should be able to know what you are spending this money on. If you are unable to figure that out, that is the big problem. And the reason why I'm saying that that's the first step is because you will be shocked and angry and you will think twice if you suddenly realize that your income is not enough to carry the weight of all your expenses. What that will help you to do is that it will help you to change your job. There are people that have angrily said, you know what, my boss, I'm doing more than you think I'm doing. Increase my salary. The only people that go aggressive like that, they are people that realize that this income I'm getting is not enough to cater for my basic needs. But the problem of Nigeria, because the communal living, people have edged on other people so much that they are not fighting the right people that should be fighting. If your income is not enough, the people you should be fighting is your boss. Okay, don't fight your boss. You should, but you can say, you know what? I'm not doing this job again. It's you can't take care of my needs, my basic needs. I want to find another job. I want to go to school. I want to get more certificate because that is the first action point. So that we are not talking in pain here. That is the first action point. First point is break down the income and your expenses. The next action point is after you've broken it down. If you remove 20% of your income as savings, please don't type it in. Okay. But what I'm saying is, if you remove 20% of your income as savings, can you still be fine? If you are not fine, this is what you should do. You should go back to your income breakdown again and your expenses. Now, remove some things that are not supposed to be there. These looks tough. And I know they are tough because it's hard to go through your bank statement to check out what am I buying, what did I buy yesterday, what did I buy this weekend. But you need to do that. That's the foundation of wealth building. You need to, in US, what people do is that they look at their subscription. When people see that they are getting broke, they look at their subscription because people subscribe and every month people just take your money from your account because you have subscribed. When people start getting broke, what they will first do is that they will say, cancel our subscription. They will do that. That was the first action point here. Cancel our subscription. So when they cancel our subscription, they will now start again all over to say, oh, gym, I don't need to gym. I can run on the street. Netflix. Okay, Netflix is enough. I can't be having Netflix and having Disney World and having Amazon Prime and having. So that's where people start adjusting their life to the reality that, oh, okay, I'm getting broke. I think I'm poor now. So that's how people do. This income. No. I can't live in a 3K apartment rent now. I need to go to the interland. I need to go and be paying $1,000 rent. So people get to this realization when they are getting broke. But you don't need to because if you want to build well, you don't need to get broke before you build well. That's why I'm saying that this second action item is for you to create 20% of your income as savings. And if it's not enough, then start deleting some things. There are some things that are not important anymore. Sometimes you just wire, it's easy to wire, debit alert. You get debit easily, but you don't know that sometimes you can pause debit. If you're sending money to people, give me 10K, give me 2K. People are saying, oh, give me 2K. Yeah, another one, give me 2K. I'm like, okay, if I give you 2K, this is 2K, another person 2K. At the end of the day, I'm giving everybody 50K. How much is my income? I used to lament in Nigeria then. I still lament now, but what I do now is I carefully know what I'm spending money on. And I decide whether you deserve to be in my income statement. If you do not deserve to be in my income statement, I'm going to remove you. So that is the second level action item that I'm proposing here. The third one is that you need to open an investment account immediately because it's not enough to get that 20% savings out of your income, moving into something. And again, I'm not talking about people that are earning. You don't need to earn naira every month to do what we're trying to talk about here. Even if the investment is going, 100K is going into treasury bill account or ETFs, or 100K is going into OPay or PiggyVest, dollar investment or lock or whatever they call it. It needs to be consistent. You need to get to a point where there is no money in your account for frivolities. And the reason why people spend crazily is because there's money in their account. And I've seen people that say, okay, but I have a lot of money in my account. I need to spend it. Yes. And I believe in that philosophy. Money must be spent somehow. If there's too much money in your account, something's going to take it. Is that a family problem? Take it. Friends problem, everybody's problem, because it's easy to make you get emotional when the money is sitting there. But if money is not sitting anywhere, it's also for you to raise your hand to say, you know what, I'm helpless here.